Partnership with the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, alongside the National Prosecuting Authority, that's the NPA. Now, this is the 8th edition of the Let's Talk Justice, Live Your Rights show that happens every Thursday evening. My name is Karabolans. As I always say, giving gratitude to where I come from. Stolo saba pedil matebele tabalabalo ena maichibunga legono roamagele lo ena mchelechi mo khashonyare na ya maichubwa legono yona weekly shechwa ke ba government Communication and Information System, the GCIS, that's Justice and Constitutional Development, by the way. The National Prosecuting Authority, the NPA, Gabo Kopana, as I said, and I'm looking forward to be spending some time with you. Government Communication and Information System, the GCIS, Nomnyango with Justice and Constitutional Development, Kanye National Prosecuting Authority kamalam Karabolans ngiyojabula nawe umlaleli ukuthi nawe uke uthatha isikhathi sokuba nathi ulalele lento lesilethile this evening so that you can take part and help us to learn whatever we're going to be learning for this evening as well. And I'll be giving you a number and all the details that you would need to be in touch with us this evening to make sure that you don't miss out on any information that we have for you. As always, there is a guest in the studio or two. This time around, we do have one guest coming into the studio, and they're going to be telling us about one thing that I was looking forward to for the past 2 weeks, and his name is Mr. Cyril Robertster, I beg your pardon, and he's coming from the DOJCD in the division that deals with state law, and he's a state law advisor there. Cyril, let me say thank you so much for having taken some time to be with us. Good evening to you.
Thank you, Karabu. Like Karabu said, I'm from the Department of Justice. I'm primarily here to unpack the Protection of Harassment Act. Ek wil ook net ons Afrikaanse luisteraars welkom sê. Die doel van die bespreking is onder andere om die wet op tuistering te bespreek. Baie dankie.
All right, as I said to you, multiple languages, that's what we're going to be doing this evening. So you're more than welcome to call in any language of your choice. You can call in any of the Nguni languages, any of the Sotho languages. English will be the main medium for this evening. And as far as you could hear, Cyril is quite comfortable to speak Afrikaans. If you've got any Afrikaans listeners listening in this evening and you would like to ask your question in Afrikaans, yes, baie welkom om dit te doen. Ons die nommer om te skakel dis 0800 142446. It's 0800 142 446. It's a toll-free number if you're going to be calling from a telecom line. Otherwise, if you're calling from a cell phone, please give us a call and we'll take your details very, very quickly and call you back. If you're into social media, well, that's good as well because you can hook us up on Facebook at the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. Twitter, guys, you can tweet us at this Twitter handle at DOJCD_ZA. Remember, it's not a hyphen, it's DOJCD_. That's the one below. A lot of people are making a mistake of putting that one that looks like a minus sign. So it's DOJCD_ZA. So what are we talking about basically this evening? Well, it's an act that's fairly new. Maybe not necessarily new, let me not use the word new, but it's one that's, just been published recently. And we're going to learn quite a lot. It's got a connection to most of the acts that we've spoken about before. And this is the Protection from Harassment Act. It's got a link to what we spoke about last week. Remember last week when we were speaking about harassment, we were speaking about sexual offenses and so forth. And now this one has got a link to it. So that's the Protection from Harassment Act of 2011. Hence I said it's pretty recent, this one here. So Cyril is going to help us to quite understand this act, how to unpack it, how to apply it, and so forth. And so we are definitely looking forward to that. So Cyril, without any waste of time, I always want to give a bit of a background to issues that we're speaking about in any given evening when we're doing these type of broadcasts. And maybe let me start off by asking you, the reason that gives rise to this act. Maybe let's start there.
Yeah, thanks, Karabu. Before the Act, the legal framework in South Africa did not provide for an adequate remedy against harassment. The Domestic Violence Act do provide for a remedy in a domestic relationship, but obviously any harassment or stalking outside a domestic relationship could not be dealt with by the law. Furthermore, there is various conduct out there which cannot be regarded as an offence or a delict. And a need has arisen to address certain conduct which cannot be prosecuted or in terms of which you cannot litigate for civil damages to protect the person that is being harassed. The South African Law Reform Commission made extensive research on this aspect and came up with a proposal that the Protection from Harassment Act be put on the statute book. The main aim of the Protection of Harassment Act is to deal with certain conduct outside the criminal law by way of a civil remedy which can protect a person against harassment. So there is other legislation in the statute book in addition to the Domestic Violence Act and the Protection of Harassment Act, which do provide remedies for similar conduct. One is a civil remedy in terms of the civil law, which one can apply for in a high court or a magistrate court. This is, however, very costly, and the ordinary person on the street cannot afford this. The Act provides for an inexpensive remedy to deal with harassment in the form of a protection order.
All right, 0800 142 446. I'm going to open the telephone lines already. So if you've picked up anything there with that type of explanation and you would like to maybe just ask a question or two, you're more than welcome to do that. All telephone lines open, 0800 142 446. 0800 142 446. That is a toll-free number if you're going to be calling from a landline. Otherwise, if you're calling from a cell phone, let me ask you to give us a call initially. Be very, very quick in giving your name and the telephone number so that my producer can take it down very quickly and call you back. In that way, we're going to try to save you costs of using your cell phone airtime. So let's do likewise. 0800 142 446. My social media producer is also standing by to take some of your questions on Facebook as well as Twitter. So if you're going to be hooking us up on Facebook, you can go to at the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. Twitter, very easy, at DOJCD_ZA. It's gone 15 after 6. Let me welcome you, listener. If you've just joined us, it's a pleasure to have you with us. We're learning quite a lot this evening with regards to the Protection from Harassment Act of 2011. In the studio, we are chatting to Cyril Roberts, and he's coming from the DOJC team in the department that deals with state law, and he's a state law advisor, and we're going to be learning quite a lot from him this evening. All right, moving on. Maybe one is asking, okay, I'm hearing so many things, but what is harassment? And we touched a little bit, Cyril, with regards to the what the Act is trying to address. But maybe let's take a couple of steps back to say harassment. When somebody's saying harassment, what is it that we're talking about?
Thanks, Karabu. Well, harassment is certain conduct that adversely affect another person. I believe harassment was the focus point of various movies, inter alia Fatal Attraction, The Taxi Driver, Cape Fear, and various other movies. But obviously, some people cannot remember it. It's old-time movies. And for people who is not regular moviegoers, I'll give examples of harassment. Some examples of harassment will be the following, where a cyber harasser inter alia posts an explicit photo with the electronic contact address and the residential address of a person on a website with the invitation that it is the victim's sexual fantasy to be gang raped. Other examples which has materialized is inter alia the instance where a psychotic person who was convicted for a vicious assault on a complainant contacted the complainant frequently afterwards, after he was convicted of the assault on her. Sometimes cyberstalking and what happens in the virtual world can merge. Inter alia, where a person is inter alia raped, a picture or video of the incident can be made available inter alia to the victim as well as family members of the victim. A good example of harassment is inter alia the instance where a married man and a real upcoming person in society was informed that his name featured on a website, and the website's name was, I name it, it's fictional though, Shame Bad Dates, and a woman actually gave a story of a steaming affair that she had with him. This destroyed the man's marriage, as well as the thinking of people of him. In America, a 17-year-old girl posted an explicit sexual message of a 15-year-old on a pornographic website, as well as a telephone number of the victim. The resultant effect was countless inappropriate phone calls to the teenager. Obviously, threats by way of SMS, emails, and similar media do qualify as harassment. In South Africa, I believe there was the instance where scholars posted manipulated pictures of a teacher on a gay bodybuilder site. That amounts to harassment. Some of the more extreme instances of harassment is inter alia the instance where certain persons cloned the website of a person and then made threats against other persons and also offered a reward to kill that.
Quite a number of examples that we have in there, and I would like us to maybe touch on a few of those further into the discussion. But for now, I've got two callers. But just let me warn you as a listener, talking about such issues, sometimes the content might just be very sensitive for children to be listening to. Let me just warn you as a listener, if you've got children around, can I just urge you maybe just to play Barney or something in the background for them to or give them coloring stuff to keep them busy, or let them do their homeworks. In fact, that's a good one. Let them do their homeworks. This is homework time. I'm going to be checking on my kids, making sure they're doing their homeworks at this point in time. But the fact of the matter is, the content might just be of a nature that we don't want to expose this type of content to children. So if they are around, may I ask you to please move them. 20 after 6 o'clock. Let's go to the telephone lines quickly. All right, we're going to start in Lephalale. This is an area that I'm going to be in 2 days, and there we chatting to Mr. Breeza. Mr. Breeza, good evening to you.
Hey, I'm here. Yes, I'm on the line.
Yes, Mr. Breeza, what is your question or comment? Good evening to you.
Yes, hello.
Yes, Mr. Breeza, what is your question or comment?
Yes, my question on the comment is two questions. I was having a problem last year with a rape, né? And then so I was accused by rape that a lady working at the municipality of Lephalale that opened a case that I've shown a gun to her that then I drive her to where I want, and then so we were jolling with that lady. Then, but the case is withdrawn because I'm still having all the activities. Then, but while I'm trying to open the case, then police and some other people who are waiting to the court around the area, then they said, hey, you want to start that case again, we will take you in jail again. Then the other thing is, we have our rural, like a tribal authority. So you know what is a tribal? We are saying it a rural area. On Blackberry rural area, that the stumble of the kantoor, then daar waar ons maar al die goedes wat kan ons claim, then so ons sukkel as daar moet iets gebeur, then ons het nie 'n regte kaptein van die land. Ons het 'n regte kaptein wat ons weet, maar die kaptein hy hou van die kleintjie, die seentjies. Hulle sê hom, ja, Brisa, hy sê so. No, dat die kaptein, hy kan vir jou nie help. Hy sê nie 'n fout. In other words, I want to say, okay, our chief, ex-Selector, said, okay, it's fine. Then if anyone want to come to me, then he listened to a small boy.
Okay.
A small boy. So we wonder, where are our grandfather? We got our grandfather because Seneca is a big rural place, and they abuse the councillor who works for the tribal authority offices. That is even the inspector. That
Mr. Brees, ek hoor u. Ek kan dalk u adviseer op dit. Die wet op tuistering maak voorsiening vir sekere conduct van selfs mense wat in beheer is van jou. As jy voel dat jy getuister word, kan jy die protection of harassment gebruik om 'n hofbevel teen die persoon te kry om jou te beskerm. Baie dankie.
All right, and when it comes to that issue that has got to deal with tribal authority and that type of thing, I think it's a matter that's not actually what we're looking at this evening. But we're not going to push you away, Brisa. We've got your numbers. Yeah, I'm going to ask my colleagues to maybe be in touch with the guys back at Kokta, and let's see how we can help you to resolve that problem. But thank you so much for having called in. I really appreciate it. Let's go to Klerksdorp, and we're going to be chatting to Andre in Klerksdorp. Andre, good evening to you.
Yes, good evening to you too as well.
Thank you so much for calling in. Very short and sweet. What is your question and comment?
Okay, ek gaan sommer Afrikaans praat.
Dis reg.
Ek wil gou hoor, wat is die minimum vonnis of straf vir harassment, regsgewys of wat ook al? Dis maar my enigste vraag.
Die straf is 5 jaar gevangenisstraf as jy hofbevel oortree wat jy verbied om te tuister en of 'n boete. So 'n boete volgens die wet op aanpassing van boetes kan substansieel wees. Dit is gelyk aan R20,000 per maand.
Okay.
All right, ek sê vir jou dankie Andre.
Baie dankie Sarel.
Dis reg. 0800-144446. Dis die nommer om te skakel. Dis 'n toll-free number, by the way. So if you want to be in touch with us, you are more than welcome to do that. 0800-142-446. Going to Mossel Bay. The last time I was in Mossel Bay, it was when I think about 2 years ago. So Sharon, good evening to you in Mossel Bay. Sharon? All right, Sharon, we're going to try to call you back and just get to see or get to hear what your question is. 26 after 6 o'clock. My name is Karabalans. Welcome to the show. If you just joined us, we've been running for the past 20 minutes, and you haven't missed out on quite a lot, but you have missed out on quite a lot.
Thank you, Karaba. I can probably take you through what is harassment for purpose of the Harassment Act. Harassment is very broadly defined in terms of the Protection of Harassment Act as any unreasonable conduct which can harm another person or a related person, and also include sexual harassment. In terms of the Protection of Harassment Act, the conduct must be unreasonable before it can be regarded as harassment. And we basically left it to the courts to judge when certain conduct can be regarded as as being unreasonable.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it means at this stage we can. Okay, so for instance, if we're hearing in somebody's case, we on this other side of the judiciary system. That's the word that's I've been battling with even earlier today during the news. The judiciary system. We cannot say before that time whether a conduct is reasonable or unreasonable. But before you can even answer that, we're going to come back to that. I just want you to think about it, Sarah. Let's go to the telephone lines quickly and speak to Sharon. I don't want to keep Sharon waiting for so long. Sharon, good evening to you.
Hallo, kan ek speak Afrikaans?
Dis reg, Sharon.
Hallo, ek is Sharon van Mosselbaai en ek gaan nie my van gee nie.
Hallo Sharon.
Ek het ook 'n vraag op die onderwerp. Ek het 'n komment, wil ek sê, 'n paar griewe. Wat maak 'n mens met iemand, jou ex, né? Ons was 8 jaar by mekaar, is die eerste boyfriend, om my so te sê, begin. Ek het 'n kind van 22 by hom. En af en toe dan bel hy vir my, maar dan raak hy weer stil. Ek wanneer van maandag weer begin na bel. So sê vir my kan nie nou met jou praat en ek is op pad weer toe. Hy bel my toe later in die dag terwyl ek by die werk is. Ek sê vir hom ek kan ook nie nou met jou praat nie want ek is by die werk. Ek wil nie eintlik met hom praat nie, verstaan, want die bande wat ons smeer, dit bring nie herinneringe terug nie. Dit maak net probleme tussen hy en sy wederhelp.
Sharon?
En sy weet dat ek 'n kind by hom, né?
Ja.
Om by die punt te kom. Hy bel my man en ek wil hy moet my bel nie, want bel hy my, sê ek weet nie of sy weet hy my bel nie, en of sy nie weet nie. Maar dan bel sy vir my en dan dreig sy vir my, dan sê sy vir my, as hy afkom, dan sal ek sien sy gaan my 'n ding of twee wys. Wat staan my te doen met haar? Ek is nogal 'n bietjie scary, né, verstaan, because ek weet dat haar family, hulle is in gangsterism, en hulle het illegal guns.
Okay, Sharon, hier is 'n klassieke geval van tuistering waar jy dreigemente kry oor 'n kommunikasienetwerk. Die wet op tuistering maak voorsiening daarvoor dat die hof in sodanige geval ook vir jou 'n beskermingsbevel kan verleen teen tuistering. Die prosedure is basies, jy moet na 'n landdroskantoor toe gaan en aansoek doen vir beskermingsbevel.
Sharon, no biggie aan vir my. Ek wil net iets uitvind so. When it comes to issues of harassment, how important it is, because in our last show we've mentioned that it's very important for a victim to say no, even if it's a harassment, but that element of saying no is very important. Sharon, don't go away. Sarah, would you like to jump in there?
Okay, yes. In terms of the Protection of Harassment Act, we didn't specify what is harassment. We just gave a very broad description. The effect of harassment is different on different people. So one of the elements is, inter alia, that the conduct must cause harm to another person. If you can prove that in a court of law, irrespective of the conduct, however, if a court regard that as unreasonable, it can be regarded as harassment. If the sheriff is phoning you to actually ask you to please pay your debts, I don't think that can amount to harassment. But if somebody is very persistent and keep on, that conduct can be unreasonable and it can amount to harassment.
All right. Sharon, just before I let you go, this one is from me, really, in terms of what we've learned in the past few weeks. You've mentioned that, when he calls, you would tell him, no, I'm driving to work. And he would call again and you would say, no, but I'm at work now. Maybe he would call again and say, look, I can't talk right now. I'm in a meeting. I would like to encourage you to start saying to him, look, I don't want to talk to you. Let that be registered. Let him know that you don't want to talk to him.
Sorry, can I say something about it? I just told him I don't want to talk to you because he knows me. Ne? We used to go out. We used to go out in the first place when we break up. We reunite, you see. So he knows me. He knows my ins and my outs and what I'm up to. But he still don't want to listen. So I think he's teasing or he's busy with something.
Yeah, but have you said the words, no, I don't want to talk to you, don't call me?
I told him, and he knows it. I don't want to, or even sent him SMS. He said, I don't want to talk to you.
Okay, good stuff, because then you got a case. Because then from here, you need to move forward and start lobbying in for the protection order. That's just my advice. Sarah, would you like to jump in?
Yes, obviously, I can also explain a process that you must follow. You must go to a magistrate's court and apply for a protection order against harassment. You don't need to have legal representation. There's obligation on the clerks of the court to assist applicants in the application for a protection of harassment order. You need to complete prescribed forms. That will be your application. Mm-hmm. If you've got witnesses, I will suggest that you get an affidavit from that person and take that to the court as well. Yeah. The court will then consider that application, and if the court thinks that harassment has taken place, the court can issue a protection order against harassment. A harassment order is valid from the moment that it is being issued by a court and it has been brought to the attention of the harasser. In your instance, I hope you know where he stays. If you do not know where he stays, there's procedures in place to trace cyber harassers in cyberspace. Right. I'll probably deal with that later on. After the court has granted interim protection order, the documents will be served on him. The court will determine a return date. On the return date, if he wants to oppose it, he must come to court and explain himself. If he doesn't come to court and there is a case of harassment, the magistrate will issue a final protection order against him. In terms of the protection order, the magistrate can inter alia order him to stay away from you. The court has a very wide discretion what kind of order he wants to grant in order to make sure that one person does not harass another person. Okay. That will also be served on him. And yes, if he continues with his harassing conduct after a protection order was served on him, he will commit an offense. Okay. What you have to do is, when a final or interim protection order is granted by the court will also give you a warrant of arrest as well as an affidavit in a prescribed form. So what you do, if he continues with his harassment, you just complete the affidavit and hand it to a police official. And the police official will then arrest the person if he thinks you are in danger. Okay. Otherwise, if there's no imminent harm against you, the law enforcement agency will serve a notice on him and tell him to appear in court. So he will then be tried for a criminal offense.
Happiness, Sharon?
All right. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, good stuff. I tell you what, thank you so much for calling in. And I think you're a good example of what women should do outside there to rise up and not keep quiet with the matters that are really affecting them in a negative way. Big ups to you and thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you so much for listening to me, Mayor.
There we go. All right. 25 before 7. 0800 142 446. 0800 142 446. Otherwise, you can tweet us at DOJCD_ZA. Oh, there we go again. ZA at DOJCT_ZA. Otherwise, you can hook us up on Facebook at the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. We'd like to hear from you this evening. Joining us in the studio coming from the department is Mr. Sarel Roberts. He's the state law advisor from the department and quite keen and quite happy to be with us to give you all the information that you might be needing as far as this act that we're talking about, the act that was not put together, but that was legislated in 2011, Protection from Harassment Act. That's what we're talking about this evening. All right, Sharon, you would like to jump in there, Sarah?
Krabo, I can probably go further and maybe just explain to the listeners who may apply for a protection order.
Yeah.
In terms of the act, the victim herself can apply for a protection order against harassment, but the act also goes further into earlier to provide that another person can actually apply for a protection order against harassment for a victim if the victim authorize that person in writing to do that, or if that person can explain to the court that the victim cannot by him or herself apply for the protection order. Furthermore, the Act also gives children the power to apply for a protection order against harassment, as well as any other person to apply for a protection order on behalf of children. When the Act was developed, something that was considered seriously was bullying in various school institutions. And it is admitted that the Protection of Harassment Act is an effective remedy against bullying in these institutions. So I want to ask anybody, if you are being bullied, please use the Act and apply for effective remedies against the bullying.
All right, let's go to El Dorado Park. We're definitely going to go through some more of your explanations there, Cyril. I just don't want to keep some of the listeners waiting for very long. Let's go to El Dorado Park and we're chatting to Aletta. Aletta, good evening to you.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm very well, and yourself?
I'm not too well, sir. I've got a problem here, please, man. I would like some advice.
Let's see if we can help you. We're definitely going to try to help you, though.
So I've got a girl. My son has got 3 children with this girl. But now, they keep on abusing him. They keep on attacking him. We went even to advocates, family advocates. We got the right to see his kids or buy stuff and give the children. Yesterday we were in court the whole day because they attacked him again. The magistrate gave them a warning. When we walked out of the court, the girl said, I'm going to show the magistrate. I'm not going to leave him. I'm still going to do something until I kill him. Now you tell me, he has been picked up and locked up for nothing. He doesn't fight with them. The mother, the brothers, the uncle, they always come and attack him. Now what must we do? Room 6 doesn't help anymore. What must we do?
All right, and I suppose this has got to do with children and whatever allegations of perhaps is he you don't have to answer this one, but I'm just trying to establish what could be easier in terms of situations like this. Is he paying some form of maintenance to the kids?
He just started a job last week, but all this time since the children have been born, me and his sister was buying clothes, everything. We've got proof of everything. We've been supporting the children.
Okay.
We've been doing everything for the children. But now he's got somebody else he's trying to avoid that. See, they walk from their place.
We're going to deal with it. I almost said we're going to deal with them as if I'm going to do anything about it. But I can tell you what, hey, the law is there to really help people like you. Take courage, Aletta, and listen to what Sarah is going to say, because this is really going to help you. Stay on the line for me. Carol, I can see you on the line listening from Radio Kofifi. Hang 10 for me. Let's help Aletta quickly, and then I'm coming to you. Carol?
Okay, Aletta, hello. Yes, my submission is that the son must go to a magistrate's court and apply for a protection order. This will ensure that the people leave him alone, and if they contravene the protection order, obviously there's criminal penalties that the court will impose on the transgressors.
All right. Yeah. Carol, is that helping in any way?
I don't know. I'm going to try, sir.
You know what? Give it a shot. Give it a shot. We're going to take note of that. We'll take your details down. I want you to call us back. Okay, what we'll do perhaps at the end of the show is we'll call you and give us our direct details, which we can't give on air at the moment. Us as in producers, so that we can follow up with you in terms of finding out exactly what is happening and how far you are with the case, and then we'll definitely try. But try this for now. I'm glad, Carol, that you're saying that your son is trying everything in his power to take care of the kids and so forth. That's the start, because you don't want to go for seeking legal advice and then you're told, but the problem comes with the fact that you're suffering. Exactly. So I'm glad first things first is done. He's taking care of the kids. Let's take it from there, right?
Okay, sir.
Moja. Thank you so much for listening in, and all the best to you. Radio Kofifi, you guys are doing an absolutely amazing job. Let me say thank you to you this evening for taking our program, as many other radio stations are doing in your area and across the country. Thank you so much for that. And listening to Radio Kofifi at the moment is Carol. Carol, good evening to you.
Good evening, how are you?
I'm very well, and yourself?
I'm fine, thank you.
Absolutely.
I want to find out what rights or protection does a person have if you are unemployed and you get blacklisted for something you're unable to pay?
All right, so
Okay. This actually fall outside the capacity of the Protection of Harassment Act. But yes, it is a civil, let's call it a remedy that was devised by companies in Australia to ensure that people who cannot pay their debts is not afforded any further credit.
Yes.
I think the National Credit Act do deal adequately with that, but it's
Okay.
outside the Protection of Harassment Act. Thank you.
Yes.
all right, but Carol, like I always say, and I know this sounds like, every time I say this, but this is exactly what we do. You might not believe it. This is what we do. When I say we're taking people's numbers down and we're calling them back, trust me, it's not just a generic answer that I'm giving. We definitely are doing this. Some people are being called, and the department will say, remember this person that we called last week? We're in touch with them. They've received help. In fact, over the past couple of weeks, if there's any of the listeners that's been helped from these programs, would like to hear from you, because we like to show people that we're helping. So Carol, as much as we've answered this partly, we're going to take your details down. Let's put you in contact with people in the department that deals exactly with that. How is that sounding to you?
100%.
Lekker, go daarvan. Thank you so much for calling, and I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
16 before 7, let's go to Kwena. Radio Malachi, but now the tongue twists. Yeah, Kwena? Le kaena? Why wisha energy la be ke ne yona. Ishe redimo, le kaena? Puchwa na reng Kwena?
Shaka na ke krea harassment at work. Harassment at work e feletsa e ama salary ka gore fokotse or status sa ka sa mmerekong ke shua fast wa ke kira demotion ke swanna ke follow the steps to get this.
Vetse ge le harassment ya gona e dia gore salary na ya nna e fase le gore mohlomongwe le ya dimotio. Ka nnete le bopaki ba gona bo shupa gore it's because of that harassment oba e ka ba ye nngwe ya dilo tse dirang gore go be le taba gore letseno la nna le fase.
Hello?
Okay, Kwena, ke kgopela gore o tswalle radio ya gago. Let's start there. Let's start with switching the radio off, and then we'll have effective communication. You see? Ke kgopela gore o tswale. Ge le gore e šomiša di-battery dintšhe. Go ba e plakolle mo lebotaneng. Go ba e shape ka mute. Ge le gore berekisa dilo tša go swana le tsona tšee. Okay, be ke re putšo ya ka be ke re mo go wena ke re gore salary ya nna ya fase le gore la demotiwa in that sense. O ka gona go na le bopaki bo bo bontšhang gore it's because of the harassment e leng gore o hwetša mošomong.
Yeah.
Okay, so evidence is there. All right, hang 10. Kwena a re kwe gore ntate Sarah Oren. Here's an issue. Harassment at work, Sarah, all right? This person is suspecting and has got evidence to show that this form of harassment, whatever it is affecting their salary, and they got demoted because of that as well. What do you think this person can do?
Well, the Harassment Act can probably be used to address that. Harassment is broadly defined. If you can prove harm, and it's economical harm, it is effective harassment. But my submission is, if this relates to a purely labor matter, I think it should be taken up in the labor structures. If it relates to something like a salary that's owed or a promotion which you don't get, you can approach the CCMA to deal with that. If you cannot afford it, I believe legal aid can be approached for at least minimal legal advice on this.
Okay, now when it comes to issue ya go approach a CCMA, let me just step in to say, ke kgopela gore go and check ko mošomong wa lena gore what are the procedures internally tša go lodge in a dispute of any sort, ne? Follow those procedures first, because you don't want to end up with a CCMA and you've disregarded the internal procedures that you might follow. E ka ba problemenyana. So check a le nna pele gore procedure tša ka gare ka mošomong di reng for lodging in a dispute, and then start from there and then build up, ne?
Okay.
Go lebogege kwena.
Go leboga nna.
Okay. Singakhuluma isiZulu. Ngacela, please, all the Zulu speaking people, please call in 0800 142 446. Ngicela nishaya ucingo kuzokhala amacala abangqona abangeni. Renee from Uppington, you're listening through Radio Riverside. Good evening to you, Renee.
Hello, Karabo.
Yes, Renee.
Hoe gaan dit?
Goed, dankie self.
Baie goed, dankie.
Dis
Hallo,
lekker.
Karel.
Hallo.
Ek is bly. Sarah, ek wil graag weet. Dit soms kan dit wees dat mense dalk nie presies weet hoe om harassment te identifiseer nie, en die situasie kan dalk baie so oorweldigend wees, en dan sit jy dalk die pot mis soms. So my vraag is daar genoeg wat gedoen word deur die departement om miskien tipe van sessies te hou met gemeenskappe om hulle bewus te maak van die tekens waarna hulle moet uitkyk vir gevalle waar harassment voorkom? En dan wil ek ook weet, wat is die ergste wat kan gebeur met 'n harasser? Baie dankie.
Ek dink ons departement hou sessies op afgeleë plekke om mense in te lig oor die wet op tuistering. Daar's ook biljette beskikbaar by landerskantore wat opsomming is van die wet op tuistering. Dit kan bekom word daar, en ek dink dat klerke van die hof gee gereeld bystand aan sulke mense. Wat die ergste wat met 'n harasser kan gebeur is dat hy tronk toe gestuur kan word vir 5 jaar. Tesame met 'n boete wat aansienlik is. Dankie.
All right. Renee, you happy with that answer? Is jy miskien tevrede? Renee is off. Dis reg. No, it's fine. 0800 142 0800 142 446. Ngiyaphinda futhi ngicela ukukhuluma isiZulu. Please ngiyacela. Ngicela all the Zulu speaking people, all the Nguni speaking people actually to call in. I'd really appreciate it. 0800 142 446. Hey, look at that. We've got somebody I would like to presume they are probably Zulu speaking by the name, looking at it on Facebook here. Usiba noncwadi Luka Izimtebele. Angitungitshela ukuthi sizokhala amangcena amangco. Uthi question yakhe ke, my question is, if a lady is being harassed by a group of men in a workplace and then the management didn't act on the matter, what must they do? Thank you, all the way from Butterworth.
This is a classic case where the protection of harassment will be applicable. Prima facie, it is harassment. If it goes further and border on sexual harassment, obviously the Protection of Harassment Act can be used. If there's various harassers that actually commit the act of harassment, the protection order can be granted against various persons that harass a single person.
All right. Let me ask you this, Cyril. Prima facie?
Well, a prima facie case is usually you must prove on a balance of probabilities that harassment has taken place. Obviously, that is the standard, call it a bewyslas in Afrikaans, that is applicable to proving a case in civil proceedings. She has to make out a prima facie case that harassment has taken place.
What is prima facie?
Prima facie is more or less that if you look at all the circumstances, a reasonable court can come to a conclusion that harassment has taken place.
When you said prima facie, the only thing that came to me was food. I thought of primi piatti. I could just see the whole menu. 0800 142 446. 0800 142 446. Would like to hear from you. My producer thinks I've gone mad this evening. I might just be pretty excited about the topic and what we're learning. We've been learning for 8 weeks. Can you believe it? Hey, Cyril, it's been 8 weeks of information. Give us more.
Yes, Krabu, aspect that I want to address is inter alia cyber stalking. The protection of harassment has got effective procedure built into the Act to deal with cyber harassers. The problem in cyber space is that the harasser is usually not known.
Okay.
But in terms of the Protection of Harassment Act, the court may order a service provider to divulge certain information about a person in order to track that person down. Everybody know about RICA?
Yes.
Yeah, so most persons' particulars are with service providers, and if you do make a call out there, it can be tracked and you can be traced. This also applies to the internet. Your IP address is available and the courts can track you down. In addition to cyber harassment, the Act also provides that a magistrate may order the police to actually look for a harasser in the real world in order to get his particulars so that the complainant can apply for a protection order. And also, in certain instances, a complainant can ask the police to assist in tracing a harasser. The procedures is in the Act, so if you don't know who the person is that is harassing you, please make use of these procedures. Furthermore, what I can say is if a hearing takes place in terms of the Act, that is on the return date when the magistrate consider the final protection from harassment order, the Act do have provisions in place to protect the complainant against secondary abuse in a court, as well as children. It inter alia provides that in certain circumstances, cross-examination cannot be directly against the complainant. There's procedures in place to protect children against badgering in court. And furthermore, the Act, due to the fact that if you make certain information available to the harasser, inter alia on the protection order, which he cannot or must not contravene, he will actually trace the complainant. The Act has procedures in place to ensure that your identity is protected.
All right, should we go to the telephone lines? Let me just hang you there. I'm sorry, Cyril. I just don't want to keep this person waiting for very long. Radio Zibonele, I beg your pardon. Thank you so much for taking our calls. Your guy, Mfundo Makaba, who is in partnership with you down there in the Western Cape, is doing an absolutely amazing job, and we thank him for that, and thank you so much for the partnership that you're giving us. Anonymous is listening to you guys, Radio Zibonele. Anonymous, good evening to you. Ndiyabulela tata.
Ndinemibuzo emithathu ndifuna iqonda malunga ne-protection order into ezinjalo ne.
Ewe tata.
One, there's a situation whereby one of sisi utshatile ne. Now lo sisi nje betshatile uye asweleke midway through umtshato lo ngosahlalile ne. Now umbuzo nawo ke ngoku ingaba ke umyeni lo sisi ke unayo i-right nayo kwenza i-marriage certificate after usisi eswelekile hlele nayo. That's one ne. Two, ingaba ubhuti lo njengoba etshatile ne kumtshato waba not in intandona lebizwa custody in property of whatever bayiza ngalo ne. But the question is, ingaba namhlanje ubhuti unalo ilungelo na kwizinto zikasisi njengoba etshatile emnye etshathe eyakhe unalo ilungelo na kwi-property yakho. Okusithatha kokugqibela, ingaba unawo na amalungelo ebantwaneni as much abantwana ngobathe biologically but behlala nabo ngoba athathele ngoba ingaba unayo na i-right kubantwana na? Those are the three questions for
these kids are biological, they're not biological children.
Biological, and it's only about inyanga zintandathu 6 months behlala bonke.
Okay. Okay, Tat. No, Siyabulela, Tat. Let's see how we can definitely tackle that one. Siyabulela. All right, Matilda, all the way from Rockville. Josie FM, situated just behind one of the restaurants, Molamo. In fact, just behind one of the iconic places, Kosovo, which is the Nelson Mandela House. It's a couple of kilometers away from there, about 2.5 Ks. And that's where you'll find Josie FM. Matilda listening them in Rockville. Matilda, good evening to you. Matilda? Fagebonding. Okay, we'll come back to Matilda very soon. Let's go to those questions quickly, Sarah. Let's start with this one because I don't want this, I've got it in my mind quickly. I don't want it to phase away. This anonymous listening via radio Zibonene says he knows of a lady that's been married. The lady passed on a couple of months into the marriage. Here's where the problem comes. Can now the husband obtain a marriage certificate after the lady has passed on? So in other words, it tells us they got married, but they never went to do the marriage certificate. I don't understand how, though, because one can do that immediately, but nonetheless, never acquired. The second thing is, can he claim the estate, especially after being married in community of property? Can he claim the estate of the lady? And the last one being, does he have rights to the children? The children that are in question, those are kids that are not the biological children of this guy here.
It's quite a complex matter, and I think it falls outside the Protection of Harassment Act. But a marriage certificate, if you look at the Customary Marriage Act, did provide that if a person enters into a marriage, he had a certain period to register his marriage. That period was extended various times. I think there was a cut-off date. I'm not sure that you can retrospectively get a marriage certificate, but you can probably go to court, and I think there is ample authority for that, where you actually can request the court that a marriage was entered into, and they can actually then issue order to Home Affairs to issue a marriage certificate. Okay, the others is very complex matters. I do not want to deal with that here. It's going to take too much time.
Yeah, maybe let's hang that for a bit. Can we? All right, thank you so much. They already know my gestures in terms of taking somebody's details down. Maybe I should stop saying take the details down. I should just make that gesture. It scares them when I do it, but I think it's effective. Let's go to Matilda in Rockville. Good evening to you, Matilda. You're listening via Josie FM?
Yeah.
Sawubona. Matilda, ngizocela uvala umsakazo. I'm very happy that you've called in because sizokhuluma isiZulu. Sukuma sis. Yabona abantu bafana nawe bayasukuma baya-exercise. Bafana nami mina ngiyajima. I weight lift, by the way. Awuzweke. Hayi sizokhuluma ke. Now I'm very excited. Matilda, khuluma nami sisami. Khuluma nami. What's your question?
Ngidinga
Masizwe ke.
Ufowethu kade engadlalile. Ehlale esiphethu eshadile nendlu yakhe.
Okay.
Waba nenkinga lesiphethu wabuya. Wangitshela ukuthi ubuye ekhaya. Angavuma ukusekhaya naye. Manje njengoba sebuyile siyangixosha.
Okay.
Uthi ngihambe ngiyoshada. Ngishada ngisekhaya.
Okay.
Uthi kwakhe la. Manje angazi ukuthi ngenzweni.
Okay. Okay, uyakushaya mama, uyakuthuka, ukwenzani
akangishaya. Utshela umntaka mfowethu ukuthi akangifonele.
Okay.
Akatsheli mina, utshela umntaka mfowethu. And bayasebenza la bayapipe.
All right. Sis Matilda, just in the interest of time, I'm going to try even to help Cyril here. I don't want to flood him with matters that are not necessarily directly related to what we're talking about this evening. I know it's got a link of a bit of a... Okay, maybe Cyril, give it a shot. Let's see how far we can go with it. Brother got married and he stayed somewhere else for a couple of years. Things didn't go well where he was staying. And then he came back. And then he came back to the house where the sister is now staying and has been staying for a bit of a while. Brother saying to the sister, you need to leave. You need to get married and leave the house. Obviously, I could a picture maybe that's coming with some form of verbal, abuse and that type of thing. How can you?
Well, my submission is that may amount to harassment. First, he's trying to get the lady out of the house. I suppose she's probably got the right to stay there. And if the conduct is to such an extent that it can be regarded as unreasonable, my submission is that it will amount to harassment, and he can probably get, she can probably get order against the brother. Robert, just maybe to wrap up some other stuff against this. The order that can be granted by the court, like I previously said, is very wide. Firstly, the court must obviously prohibit the harassment against the victim, but the court may also impose any other measure which the court deems appropriate to deal with harassment. Inter alia, the court can order that firearms can be confiscated in the possession of a harasser if it poses a threat to the victim. Sometimes it might become necessary that the police must escort the victim to a certain place in order to ensure that she gets some property there. The bill do provide for that. Aspect that was probably not dealt with in full is inter alia, what can the Harassment Act actually be used as a remedy against police harassment? My submission is yes, it can be used. On the other hand, the Act has got provisions to provide that certain actions which is legitimate cannot amount to harassment. Inter alia, investigative journalism and people that must report offences and similar irregularities. The Act excludes that actions from harassment in terms of the bill.
It's very interesting, that journalism aspect of it. Would you like to add some more, Cyril, before we take two last callers?
Well, I think I more or less covered, I can just maybe
two
add on quickly. A final protection order can be revoked by the court, inter alia, if the victim actually apply for the protection order to being revoked. The court must actually be more or less proof must be provided to the court that the protection order is not anymore necessary. I think I did cover the whole aspect regarding everything. Thank you.
All right, cool stuff. I'm going to take one last caller. Gentlemen, I don't see them on the screen, but I believe you've got them on standby. My producer's saying no. All right, but we've got a couple of seconds to go, though. Do you want me to take the caller? All right, let's take the caller. Put them on, then. 0800 142 446 caller. Good evening to you. What is your name and where are you calling from? Fagebondini. All right, 0800 142 446 caller. What is your name? Where are you calling from? Legandad. Molo Tat.
Let me just make it quick.
Yes, sir, please.
The first question is that maybe the employer also be liable maybe for harassment by the co-workers. The second one, what should the employer do if an employee complains of a sexual harassment? Listening off of Vugani FM, KB. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vugani FM, partners in the Eastern Cape. I really appreciate it, Sarah.
Well, employer can be held responsible for harassment. There's also labour legislation that deal with harassment in the workplace, which has specific remedies. Although, notwithstanding the labour legislation, the Protection of Harassment Act can be used in the workplace if a worker or a co-worker is being harassed by another worker, employer, or another co-worker.
All right. Another one? 0800 142 446. All right, let's check Facebook. Another Facebook? Another Twitter? All right, okay, another line. Facebook, Twitter? Not. Okay. All right. Let's go to the last one on the line. Good evening to you, caller. Good evening. What is your name? Where are you calling from?
Live FM.
Thank you so much, Live FM. Your question very short and sweet.
Potsa ka ke ena ntate. Ke kopa ho botsa senya go re dile koloi ko like mo di pala se koloi ne le ya o mongwe. So a re dile koloi a ba se di pampiri. So a se di pampiri tsa koloi. Motho a re dile koloi ko ene se mongwe a koloi. Hande o tshala ko maro ne se motho a koloi. So o ina koloi ko maro tsa tla a di manta koloi. And no patetse tšhelete o file brother ga ga tšhelete but ga ba ga ba magana o tla di thola o tla ithola tsona le bothela ba dipampiri.
All right. I think that one does not fall in what we're talking about, but it's definitely one that we can follow up. Just for translation purposes, the caller is asking, the brother has bought a car. Brother thought the car has been bought. Brother thought the car has been bought from the legit owner, but the guy that the car was bought from is not even the owner. The owner comes back, he wants the car back. So, it's quite a complex one. Can you take the details down? Let's deal with that. I've been told one last more. All right. Smilani from KZN. Babu Smilani. Okay, let's apologize to Babu Smelan. We lost him. Just want to apologize also to Bahia from VOC as well for not coming in through there. That's 7 minutes after 7 o'clock. I think it's time for us to wrap it up. Sarah, would you like to?
Well, just maybe add, I believe in-depth study has been done regarding the effect of harassment on a victim. And the effects depend obviously on the mental and physical characteristics of the victim. In general, harassment both affects the health of a person, that is mental as well as physically, as well as the general behavior of a victim. I believe victims experience symptoms of fear, apprehension, and obviously that they or their pets or their belongings will be hurt by harasser. Regarding the portfolio of harassers, well, they range from from killers to lovesick teenagers, and there's various psychological symptoms that is being exposed under these harassers. Inter alia erotomania, schizophrenia, paranoia, and manic depression, as well as obsessive compulsory disorder. I can just say, according to information that was provided, the Act functioned relatively well in practice.
All right. There we go. That's the voice of Mr. Cyril Robertson, coming from the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. One more caller. Babu Smelani, good evening to you, sir. Babu Smelani. Yeah, Baba. What is your umbuzo wako thini?
Umbuzo wami uphathelene, it's just a little bit irrelevant. Uphathelene ne-RAF, Road Accident Fund.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, umfowethu washayiswa imoto la, right? Kunommeli eJoburg obehandlisha i-case yakhe. So nge-6 wamsendela iletha informa ukuthi right kuyiwe court nge-6. After that kwathuleka ngoba ubelokhu etravula nje eJoburg lo umfowethu. So wagcina ngokureceive leyo letter leyo, and then after that kwashaya i-6, and then akayanga eJoburg ngoba elingena phela ukuthi amtshele ukuthi gibela noma ungagibeli. So then uze umfriend wamfonela umfowethu after a week and couple of days, wabuza ukuthi uhambe kanjani enkantolo. Alright, wathi no, usasekhaya uzofika a-25 makafike ofisini, and then uzabuya kuyena. Ngokuhamba kosuku ebona isikhathi siloku siqhubeka, ummeli angafoni, wafona wathi no, don't worry, mase ngidinga ngizokuthini.
Okay, basically it's just an issue yokuthi he's been sent from pillar to post. Babu Smelani.
Yebo.
Bamisa ngapha nangapha basically abamncedi at the correct time.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay.
Manje lo mfana ufone twice.
Yeah.
Kodwa ummeli manje uthi no, uzomtshela mangabe mdinga. So all what I want to know, kahle kahle bekufuneka kutholakala ukuthi what was the outcome of the court.
Okay, I'll tell you what we're going to do, because we are running a campaign now at the moment. I'm not sure if it's still running in the KZN area. My colleagues can help me there. But it's the Roads Accident Fund campaign that we are running. Nonetheless, I'm going to try to get a hold of the guys, Bakoraf, get you in contact with somebody that can speed up the process from the Road Accident Fund, Babs Melani.
Right.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll definitely do that. All right. It's gone 11 minutes after 7 o'clock. Let's wrap it up. The stations have given us almost 6-7 minutes over to what we've asked them to do. Let me say thank you for that, and let me not waste any further time. Mr. Roberts, thank you so much for having taken time to be with us and all the information that you gave. We really appreciate that.
Thank you, Karabe.
All right, from myself, Karabalan, Stolo Saba, Pedil Matebele. Let me wrap it up. Thank you so much to my producers as well, doing an absolutely wonderful job. The one producer trying to push the envelope. We're going to have a chat after this. 12 after 7 o'clock from myself, Karabalans. Until we meet again next time, I say live your rights. Let's talk justice.